Let's start with a truth that feels like a prank. West Texas occupies nearly 40% of the state, yet is home to less than 10% of its population. Which means the region isn't just sparsely populated, it's sparsely populated aggressively. It's like Texas ordered humans in bulk, then misplaced half the shipment somewhere behind a gas station in Fort Worth. But this isn't only a Texan act of demographic martyrdom. The entire United States suffers from its own geographic commitment issues. Pick up a population density map, and you'll note that the eastern half is like a rock concert. Crowded, sweaty, and possibly contagious. While the western half resembles the world's most beautiful airport terminal. Stunning, well-lit, and fundamentally devoid of souls. Only 20% of Americans live in the western half, which is frankly incredible. That means 80% of the country collectively decided to share 50% of the land, because apparently, novelty sunsets are not worth separation anxiety from Trader Joe's. Once you're done watching the story, don't forget to comment the most West Texas thing you secretly miss. Friday night lights, dust storms with plot armor, or sunsets that work harder than the local economy. And do subscribe, so your next town still believes in libraries, not mystery meat strip malls. Drawing the line, where West Texas actually begins. And nowhere makes that contrast loud enough to need a narrator in a sequin blazer quite like Texas itself. Now, you might imagine dividing Texas would involve something noble, like rivers, cultural zones, or brisket preferences. No, it's basically a diagonal hypothesis between two towns you can pronounce confidently and one you can't. But if you map a loose north to south line from the town of Vernon in the north down to Laredo at the southern border, everything west of it contains a mere tenth of Texan residents. Yes, 90% of Texans live on one side, 10% on the other, meaning West Texas is less the other side of the state, and more Texas rescheduled indefinitely. Which sounds comedic until you realize the land itself appears to have unionized against human comfort. Unlike the eastern half, which hosts most major cities, including Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston, a city so humid you can marinate a man by leaving him outside. West Texas has exactly one city you'd recognize without squinting or bargaining: El Paso. The rest are towns created mostly to test if your car is committed to functioning as a lifestyle. So the question isn't why is West Texas so empty? The question is, what error message did the land show settlers when they tried installing towns there like software? The geography of To appreciate the audacity of West Texas geography, it helps to realize even geographers look at it and go, There's no official boundary, no certification, no ribbon cutting, not even a laminated sign. Instead, the state comptroller provides a pragmatic working theory that vaguely identifies 30 counties as Western Texas, ranging from the central regions near Mason and Brady out to the Rio Grande near Dryden and along the northern panhandle. 39,700 square miles of land tagged West Texas, which is less a name and more a polite resignation letter from nature. Now, that gigantic area is subdivided into terrains so diverse it resembles a group chat where everyone hates each other. First, you've got the Trans-Pecos region, which lies deep west, past the Pecos River, and rests entirely inside the Chihuahuan Desert. This desert sees under 10 inches of rainfall each year, meaning it's not just dry, it's commitment-free moisture. Rain shows up there like a flaky X, emotional, confusing, and rarely delivering what it promised. The Trans-Pecos also hosts Texas's only mountain ranges, including the Guadalupe Mountains, topping at 8,749 feet at Guadalupe Peak, the highest elevation in Texas, which is impressive until you learn the air pressure at that height makes oxygen resemble a conditional subscription plan with poor coverage. And if you're thinking, oh hooray mountains, settlers must have loved that, then congratulations, You've never tried farming on terrain that looks like a dinosaur stomped a topographic lasagna sheet into the ground. Then there's the Llano Estacado, a high-altitude plain that stretches into New Mexico and has approximately the water availability of a water metaphor with low self-esteem. The region notably lacks natural surface rivers or lakes, so farming settlements had to sprout with the optimism of someone planting a cactus and saying, maybe it'll grow into lettuce. Further east, the land transitions into the Edwards Plateau and rolling plains, areas known for red soils, rocky ridges, dramatic limestone caves, and the Edwards Aquifer, a major underground source of groundwater currently being used like a family Netflix account with 17 simultaneous logins. What's remarkable is each of these terrains makes town building a multi-million-dollar exercise that begins with, okay, but like, how? Roads are expensive, plumbing ludicrous, agriculture a gamble, and water access like a 401k retirement plan. Except instead of interest, you get evaporation and collapse. So yeah, people settled there slowly because the land made them fill out financial impact statements just to hydrate a goat. Climate. Maximum seasonal aggression. Speaking of hydration, let's talk about climate. Because calling West Texas harsh is like calling the sun occasionally assertive. It's not just dry, it's introverted dry, quiet, withdrawing, and actively avoiding participation. The major issue isn't only low rainfall, it's that West Texas evaporates more water annually than it receives, turning typical hydrology into something like a cosmic tally where moisture arrives, checks in, checks out, and leaves without paying the bill. In far west Texas, evaporation exceeds 90 inches per year, a number so staggering, West Texas might be the only place where humidifiers weep in protest. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while winter nights can plunge below freezing, particularly in the mountainous zones. Which means if you choose to live there, nature will kindly serve you sautéed in summer and flash frozen during winter, a full-service treatment plan for no extra charge besides sanity and chapstick. And as if maximum seasonal aggression weren't enough, the region is also one giant wind tunnel unburdened by trees or structural dignity. These winds produce dust storms so thick, visibility drops faster than broadband speeds at a budget desert motel. Historically, those conditions contributed to the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, where millions of acres of topsoil blew away across Texas and surrounding plains, devastating farms and sending families packing, meaning the land basically rage-quit agriculture. Yet today, dust storms still occur with surprising frequency. And it's not just about poor air, it's about the fact that dust hits West Texas like it's buying land there and wants settlers evicted efficiently. Historical settlement. We tried. Now, you might wonder, okay, but why build towns there at all? Great question, and the historical answer is, we tried Spain, then we tried Mexico, then the US tried persistence, and the land said no. When Texas joined the United States in 1845, settlers moved westward, hoping to farm, ranch, or build towns. Instead, they encountered often hostile conditions, resistance from Comanche and Apache tribes defending their terrain, vast distances, arid land, and absolutely no infrastructure. The U.S. Army built a line of forts to protect settlers, but despite military backing, towns grew slowly because farmable land was scarce, rainfall unreliable, groundwater invisible, and commuting distances measured in personal transformation rather than convenience. Later came oil and cattle, industries better suited to surviving West Texas terrain than a Costco parking lot full of suburban dads. These industries fueled rapid growth spikes, but not the kind that encourages stability. Oil, boom, bust, and existential dread. Now, if there's one industry West Texas actually swiped right on, it's oil. The Permian Basin, sprawling beneath West Texas, produces nearly half of America's crude oil supply, which means the region is essentially the OPEC of small towns with existential trust issues. Towns like Midland and Odessa didn't grow because someone said, "Let's build a vibrant community full of murals, third places, and emotional support bakeries." No, they grew because someone said, "There are dinosaur liquids under the ground, paychecks will follow, and existential dread might behave." Because oil towns don't expand like ecosystems, they expand like surprise confetti cannons operated by drunk economists. Towns like Kermit exploded in the 1930s after oil discoveries, growing rapidly as workers arrived in hordes. But then, because life has narrative timing, oil prices fluctuated, jobs dried, residents left, and boomtowns collapsed into something like Dust Bowl 2, economic boogaloo, now with more oil derricks, same disappointment. A well-known example is Wink City in Winkler County, Texas, which was once home to 6,000+ residents during an oil boom. Now, under 800 people live there. This means Wink didn't just shrink, it filed for personal space and got it catastrophically. This boom and bust cycle is brutal. Boomtowns bloom overnight, often without enough local services or planning, then collapse just as dramatically when prices crash or work slows. Meaning, West Texas is the only place where economic stability is treated as a seasonal pop-up shop for morally exhausted stockbrokers. Sure, you can make money there, but you can't make a dentist appear without 14 town hall meetings and the sacrifice of one used pickup truck at precisely noon. Agriculture. Growing things where things don't grow. And if oil is the star attraction, let's talk about the supporting cast: agriculture and ranching. Cotton, cattle, corn, sorghum, all of which grow successfully there only if their lifestyle involves incredible grit and a borderline cult devotion to irrigation. Here's the problem. West Texas agriculture depends almost entirely on groundwater aquifers for irrigation, primarily the Ogallala Aquifer and Edwards Trinity Aquifer, both being drained faster than plot lines in late-season Game of Thrones. The Ogallala supplies more than 50% of Texas's water demands, yet refills at only about 1 inch per year. 1? That's not recharge. That's a hydration sniff test. Experts estimate that if Texas continues using groundwater at current rates, more than half the Ogallala could be depleted by 2070. And if it drains entirely, recovery could take thousands of years, a timescale so long, even oil executives would say, "Okay, but that's a bit much." The rule of capture, a chaotic drinking contest. But how did we allow water extraction to escalate into something resembling the ecological version of leaving your phone unprotected at Burning Man? Because Texas runs on the rule of capture law, a legal principle essentially meaning, if you own the land, you may extract unlimited groundwater, which is less policy and more a chaotic drinking contest where everyone is a contestant and the land is the losing cup. No central authority decides extraction limits. Everyone pumps groundwater, no one coordinates, and the entire region now resembles what would happen if millionaires racquetballed inside a rain barrel for 100 years. And even smaller groundwater sources, like the West Texas Bolson Aquifer, are shrinking too. They support desert towns like Presidio and Van Horn, but yield limited water, with levels declining steadily since the 1950s, meaning local wells provide less support than a motivational post-it note stuck to a space shuttle on fire. Now, agriculture infrastructure struggles further due to evaporation, wind dispersal, and outdated irrigation methods like flood irrigation, a system that works but wastes water at Byzantine levels. Many communities still use old irrigation approaches because modern systems are costly to adopt, despite tools like drip irrigation and soil sensors offering water-efficient alternatives. But now, farms compete directly with urban water consumption as Texas population growth increases demand from the east, placing rural communities at a planning crossroads that sounds like, do we hydrate Texas or feed Texas? And West Texas is sitting in a folding chair in the corner, whispering, neither is looking particularly hydrated right now. Land ownership. Feudal Europe with cattle. Let's also talk about land ownership, because West Texas isn't empty. It's just extremely unzoned for cul-de-sacs. Over 80% of Texas land is privately owned, mostly dominated by massive ranches and farms. The average farm there spans 500 acres or more, but much of that land belongs to a few large agricultural operations. Smaller farms make up most landowners, but hold only small land fractions, meaning West Texas resembles feudal Europe, except instead of knights, you get cattle, and instead of majesty, you get 7,000 acres of logistical whining. Land elsewhere in Texas is being developed rapidly for housing near eastern megacities, but out west, demand is limited. Town expansion would still be costly due to infrastructure needs over rugged terrain. Because again, if you want to build a town there, the process begins not with groundbreaking, but with tone-setting dread. The tyranny of distance. Driving from Midland to either Dallas or El Paso takes over 5 hours, which means every medical appointment requires strategic emotional preparation and playlists curated like you're being deployed to see a cousin you mildly resent. And yes, West Texas has some growth, but it's the least dramatic plot arc imaginable. From 2012 to 2022, it added 43,000 residents, less than half of eastern Texas growth during the same decade. But that growth clustered entirely around cities like Midland, Odessa, and San Angelo. Rural counties like Loving County lost 40% of residents in 10 years, which means the population isn't arriving, it's condensing. It's not Western migration, it's West Texas residents going, if we must dry out, let's dry out closer to the Waffle House. What remains? Identity, silence, and spectacular sunsets. And through it all, the region maintains a strong conservative rural culture, incredible stargazing potential, low light pollution, and staggering silence. Some residents love it. Others want diversity or easier services. But those who stay? They stay not for convenience, but for identity, connection, belonging. And the fact that sunsets there look like God is screenshotting the earth for Instagram, but refuses to tag the location. So, West Texas remains vast and formidable. It's not just geography, it's personality. And if this region were a person, it would shake hands firmly while making direct eye contact and whispering, I own 39,000 square miles and 6 olives. Don't move here. Thanks for watching. If you found this compelling, subscribe and comment something inscrutable below, preferably involving aquifer diplomacy or one dramatic goat.